Being here and allowing us to kind of fill you in on where we are in this case. This is still an ongoing investigation, but I'm going to do my best to outline a pretty significant amount of information. And then, of course, as always, at the end, open it up for questions and try to make it make more sense for you. Let me start by introducing who's behind me today. Detective Ryan Perlman, who's off to my right shoulder. If he looks tired, he probably is, because he hasn't had sleep in about a month and a half. Truly has been working the whole state of Florida trying to solve these burglaries that took place here in Martin County and others that I'm going to outline for you. I have also behind me Assistant State Attorney, Statewide Attorney Chris Oleman, and then I have Captain Gavin Warner, who's in charge of the Criminal Investigation Division. We're here to announce the arrest of 4 individuals in Operation Stolen Souls. And over the past year, all over the state of Florida and South Georgia and as far west as Mississippi, these individuals and some others who have not yet been arrested have been victimizing our retail stores and creating a significant amount of loss across our state. In fact, that loss we have tabulated to be somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million in the value of these stolen shoes that they have stolen. So how did Martin County Sheriff's Office get involved? October 21st, we responded to the Treasure Coast Mall to a burglary pass. If you can see the bottom right photo down there, that is a photo actually of the rooftop of our mall after our deputies and crime scene responded and realized that a group of sophisticated burglars had actually spent 7 hours at our mall, cut a hole through the rooftop. At that time, we didn't know how they lowered themselves in. We know now that it was a ladder. Hoisted up between 400 and 500 pair of shoes and made off with the majority of them. That kicked our detective bureau into gear, and Detective Perlman behind me was assigned that case. And with the tenacity that I've known no other to have, he has worked this case diligently. Within 8 hours, Detective Perlman and his crew had identified who our burglars were. Now, we knew who they were. We had to prove that they, in fact, did it, and that took some time to do. We learned that our burglars were there for 7 hours. They did us a huge favor and drove a U-Haul truck and a follow car. The follow car was registered to one of our suspects' mothers out of Tampa, so it helped us start honing in on the vehicles. The largest favor they did us, though, was after spending the entire night and they were exhausted, they stopped by Wawa and bought some Red Bull energy drinks in order to fuel their ride back home to Tampa. And those the video footage from Wawa enabled us to start positively identifying who our suspects were. We learned quick that our suspects were all from Tampa, and our investigation shifted to Tampa as Detective Perlman and the crew tracked these individuals back. Shortly into the investigation, next day actually, they learned that the U-Haul, a large ladder, an extension ladder, a circular saw, and some other tools had indeed been rented from the Home Depot in Tampa by these individuals, and that allowed us to hone in on them better. Because of the jurisdictional issues and now knowing that these burglars were not new to this job. In fact, we learned through our real-time crime center, our analysts, that there were at least 9 other similar burglaries across the entire state of Florida, not all of which were attributing to them, but they all had similarities. They either went through the rooftops to gain access into these shoe stores, or they went through inside hallways of malls and then went through the walls to gain access. So we saw some similarities through our investigative work, and we reached out and asked the statewide prosecutor's office to help us in our case, because there was a lot to be done. Search warrants. We did use some devices in order to keep track of our individuals who we now knew were doing other burglaries, and they came on board and helped us facilitate our investigation. During our investigation, we decided that it would be best to try to catch them in the act if we could, and that involved many hours of stakeouts by our detectives. Stakeouts here, stakeouts across the state of Florida, stakeouts in Tampa, stakeouts up into Georgia, and our detectives were on task to do that. While they were doing these stakeouts, this crew loaded up, they rented the U-Haul truck again, the ladder, the tools, they loaded up and headed northbound, ended up going up I-75. And because of our jurisdictional boundaries, we had the latitude to operate in the state of Florida, but we couldn't go into Georgia. We reached out to Georgia and let them know that a burglary crew was coming their direction. Middle of October, that U-Haul truck was pulled over. Mr. Hibbert was arrested on Mr. Herbert Davis was arrested on a warrant, and that dissuaded them from doing their burglary. But because of the warrant, Mr. Herbert was held up in Georgia for a few days. While he was being held in Georgia, our detectives followed that crew back southbound on I-75 all the way down to Naples, where they were doing surveillance to hit the Naples Mall down there, but a security guard or somebody spooked them away and they aborted that mission. Mr. Davis, at one point, shortly thereafter, ends up bonding out of jail, and we know now from our investigative means that he enlisted himself and a few others who have not been arrested yet to hit a mall in Albany, Georgia. So he hits a mall in Albany, Georgia shortly after being released from bond. We know now that he was in the area of Albany for a few days post-arrest. He used that time to stake out the mall, recruit a crew, and hit that mall, and they stole several hundred pairs of shoes from the Albany Mall in Georgia and then made their way back to the Tampa area. Let me fast forward to November 17th, 2 weeks ago. Our detectives, while doing surveillance again, noticed that this crew, these 4 individuals, had made their way across the state from the Tampa area over to the Volusia County area and were staking out a mall there in Daytona Beach. Our detectives hopped on the road, they went northbound on 95, met up with the Daytona Beach Police Department and the Volusia County Sheriff's Office and advised them that there was probably indeed a burglary in progress at their mall. And because of these detectives' hard work and their surveillance, they were able to actually do a takedown of a burglary in progress and take 3 of these individuals, the first 3 here, into custody while they were doing that burglary at the Volusia County Mall. And if you look at the bottom, would be your left here, this is the Volusia County Mall's photo, and you can see that their MO is the exact same as the mall here, Treasure Coast Mall. Mr. Howard there was 4 of them at that mall. Mr. Howard was able to escape the area. He was not caught on scene, but he has since been arrested over in Tampa last week and is being held in Tampa. Mr. Davis, Mr. McCrae, and Mr. Rayford are also being held in Volusia County. All 4 of them are going to be transferred down here to Martin County here in the next couple of days. So where are we going from here? There's a lot of work to be done. I've mentioned that these individuals have been hitting for a while. It's not always these 4. In fact, these 3, and the reason why we have this up, these are the 3 that hit our mall, Treasure Coast Mall, and they have warrants for their arrests here at the Treasure Coast Mall. There's others that are involved, and we're piecing that information together. There's other cases that we're trying to help piece together because the detectives have all the search warrant information already. It actually helps with the statewide if we do a lot of the lion's share of the work, so we're working on that. We have not been able to recover shoes. It does look like these shoes are going back to Tampa and immediately being pieced out onto the streets by various methods. We're not exactly sure how that's working, but we have not recovered shoes. We have not arrested a fence, and we're still working to piece that through. A little bit about our suspects. We believe that Mr. McCrae is our main target. He's been at this the longest that we know. In fact, we know back in 2018, Mr. McCrae was arrested down at the Palm Beach Gardens, I believe the mall, burglarizing the Louis Vuitton store down there. He did a couple years in prison, got out, went right back to his trade. While we were doing our investigation, Mississippi put out a warrant for a shoe store burglary that he committed in Mississippi this year. And he's also got a warrant for a crime that he committed in Mississippi. In that crime, he went through the wall of a shoe store and stole a significant amount of shoes. All of our suspects, except Tyrone, have extensive criminal histories for burglaries and thefts. So these guys have been at this for a long time. But today, we're announcing that these individuals are going to be trading in their nice Air Jordans for these kicks. These are brand new. I don't want to touch the dirty one, but these kicks from our jailhouse. And they're going to be doing a significant amount of time in our jail and prison for the crimes that they've committed. Now, I know I've covered a lot of information. You've got to have a lot of questions, but I'm gonna kick it over to our statewide prosecutor, Oleman, to kind of touch on a few legal aspects.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good morning, everyone. I want to start by thanking Attorney General Ethmeyer and Statewide Prosecutor McVeigh for providing my office with the resources and support necessary to investigate and prosecute cases like this one. I specifically want to thank the Martin County Sheriff's Office for the countless hours that they dedicated to investigating and building this case. From the sheriff all the way to the detectives, the office has been relentless in their effort to identify and investigate the suspects in this case and to ensure that they were taken into custody. I specifically want to thank Detective Ryan Perlman and other detectives Wyatt Brown and Aaron Chandler, crimes analyst Kent Smith, and Sergeant Dominic Ferrucci for all the time and hard work they also put into this case. The Attorney General's office is committed to stopping retail theft in this state, and a key part of the success is the cooperation and partnerships between law enforcement agencies. Just 2 weeks ago, the Attorney General's office announced the launch of the office's Retail Theft Special Investigative Task Force. A key part of the success of this investigation was collaboration between the Martin County Sheriff's Office and agencies throughout the state and other states. The Attorney General's Retail Theft Task Force will provide additional tools to law enforcement across the state, and that'll further collaboration and lead to future successful investigations. Additionally, by working with the Office of Statewide Prosecution, law enforcement is able to work cases across jurisdictions, and they're able to then bring them all into one case and file them in one circuit, as we're doing here in this case. As seen here, retail theft expands far beyond simple shoplifting. In this case, the suspects are accused of committing brazen nighttime burglaries of shopping malls throughout the state of Florida, and their acts not only cause thousands of dollars in losses to the businesses themselves, but also cause thousands of dollars in losses and thousands of dollars in damage to the buildings. Our office is committed to stopping these types of offenders and ensuring they're held accountable for their actions. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I kick it over to questions, let me just brag for a minute. As I mentioned, these burglaries went on for probably a year until they hit Martin County. And again, I'm gonna say it again, after about 8 hours of work, Detective Perlman knew who they were, and he started assembling these cases across the state. So I appreciate the hard work that they do day in and day out, their diligence to take care of the people here in Martin County and really across the state of Florida. So again, I know I've put a lot of information out there. Let me kick it to you all for questions. I'll try to clarify anything that you have.
Sheriff, you just said that in 8 hours you had suspects already identified. What can Martin County Sheriff's Department teach other departments, because they've been doing it for a year, and you guys in 8 hours ID'd these suspects. What can this agency teach other agencies?
So the question is, what can our agency teach other agencies? And I'm not trying to dig on them, but we take small things for granted. This isn't small to us. This is a significant loss to our retail stores, but everything matters. And we've used that model for much smaller cases than this. And then when this case came along, we were already positioned to track back the video footage, track back witness statements, and do all the things that you would expect out of a robust law enforcement agency to make these cases. So just paying attention to detail, taking the time, allowing your detectives to do what they do best, go out, beat the streets, knock on doors, and recover evidence is what was key in this case.
I don't know if you can tell us or not, but how were you able to catch them in 8 hours or recognize or pinpoint who you were looking for in 8 hours?
Yeah, so the question is, how do we figure it out in 8 hours? So we were able, again, by tracking down camera system, which, by the way, Simon Mall and Jensen Beach did not have a robust camera system. The alarms only were on the front and back doors. It did not trigger an alarm. They spent 7 hours there. But by going to neighboring businesses and pulling surveillance cameras, they were able to figure out that the U-Haul was in play. And then they figured out the follow car. And just tedious work of backtracking surveillance cameras along that US 1 corridor in Jensen Beach led them to the Wawa. And these individuals, I guess they were tired coming in and buying their energy drinks, is really what did them in. Coming into Wawa without gloves on, without a mask, and us getting really good facial shots of them enabled us to identify who they were.
And how significant will this stakeout, getting them caught in the act, help with our case here?
Well, the question is, how significant will them being caught in the act be, extremely. Again, there's a lot of digital evidence that we've now recovered that it's extremely damning to them. They're intelligent enough to pull off burglaries, but they did some really stupid things. Like Mr. Davis, during one of the burglaries, I believe in Georgia, he put on social media a screenshot of where he actually was, which we've now been able to recover from his phone. There's a lot of information we've data mined out of their phone, which is going to bury them in the legal system. But being able to show these individuals not only hit our crime here in Martin County, but they did the same thing in another jurisdiction, just kind of is like icing on the cake, really, for us.
Sheriff, can you repeat the date of the takedown at Volusia Mall and kind of clarify what the involvement of CSO was in that?
Yes. Yeah, can I clarify the date and what our involvement was in that case? Yeah, so let me refer to my notes so I get it correct. On November 17th is when they hit the Volusia County Mall. Our detectives were doing surveillance on them, actually followed them to the mall, knew they were there. They reached out to Daytona Beach and Volusia County and let them know that there was likely a burglary in progress. And then because they were light on resources, our detectives actually did the takedown, which put these three in custody. Again, Mr. Howard was not in the car with them. He was somewhere else, we're not sure where, while that burglary was taking place. So he was arrested later.
Do you think there's more people involved then?
The question is, do we think there's more people involved? And the answer is yes. We do believe we know there's more people involved, they just haven't been arrested yet. And we know this because Mr. Davis would kind of do his own burglaries off to the side. We know that from some information we've retrieved from his phones. He, in fact, tried to while Mr. McCrae was away, and then Mr. McCrae was the boss when he was out. And he also would grab a few other people along the way. But this is our core crew. This is the consistent group that would hit on a regular basis.
I know earlier on when we first did the news conference, you said this was kind of like alluded to, like a scene out of Mission
Yeah.
Impossible. They went to, I guess, great lengths to do this, right?
So the question is, this was like a scene out of Mission Impossible. They went through great lengths. The answer is absolutely yes. So in front of you today, we brought, I think that's only 15 boxes of shoes. If you pick them up, which you can do here in a few minutes, you can see the volume of them. Imagine hoisting that up on a ladder, up on top of a roof, putting it down, putting it in a U-Haul truck, and doing that covertly where you don't get caught with an active security guard roving the area. They were good at counter surveillance. They were good at getting their ladder there, getting it up on the roof, putting it down in the business, hoisting all that stuff back up. They were good at what they did, but Detective Perlman back here is better at what he does. Is that all?
So that's 15 boxes of shoes. How many boxes were involved in, I guess, the Treasure Coast Mall?
So the question is, how many boxes were at the Treasure Coast Mall? It's between 400 and 500. They were not overly accurate with their inventory, and so our number is between 400 and 500.
And you said, Sheriff, anywhere between $700,000 worth of merchandise. Is that what was stolen here in the Treasure Coast or throughout the state in Georgia?
So the question is, the tabulation of $700 to $1 million in loss, where was that? That's the entire state over the last year that we know about right now. We're still, it seems like every day they come in with a little bit more information about another place that they hit. Now that we have blasted out these arrests to other agencies, they're reaching out to us saying, hey, we had something similar to this happen in our jurisdiction. So I think there's a lot more information to come. These individuals, by the way, I don't know that I touched on it. They're not in our jail yet. They have warrants on them for their burglary here in Martin County. They're going to be transferred back here to Martin County, but right now we're going through the legal system of them having charges in place where they've been arrested.
So what jail? They're in Volusia County right now?
The question is what jail? So these first three are in Volusia County Jail. Mr. Davis, McCrae, and Rayford are in Volusia County Jail, and then Mr. Howard is over on the Tampa side. I'm not sure exactly which jail he's sitting in.
Any changes you're gonna recommend mall do?
Any changes, the question is, are we gonna recommend changes? And the answer is, we have been recommending changes. More cameras, more infrastructure at the mall. They just haven't invested the money in that. But we have been investing money in our own infrastructure to save us work, so it's easier for us to track these individuals back.
Sheriff, do you believe that they were scouting these stores? Did they have a scouting operation prior to hitting it? Did they go in and scout the store out? Do you believe that's part of that?
So the question is, do we believe they were scouting the store ahead of time? And the answer is yes. We know that in Mr. Davis's case in Albany, Georgia, that he was there ahead of time. The question that we all have is, how can they be so precise? You see these holes in these roofs. These roofs are multiple football fields in size. Like, how do you get up on a ladder, go to this particular spot in a roof, and put a hole in the roof right where you need to be? And they did, and we're not exactly sure how they were able to pull that off. Our assumption is they went in there and they geotagged where they were on the floor level, and then they came back at a later time, but we don't know that.
I mean, this seems to me at least classic of hashtag wrong exit here in Martin County. I mean,
The question is this hashtag wrong exit? Yes, absolutely is. This exemplifies how serious we are about keeping our citizens, our businesses safe. You heard the Assistant State Attorney talking about retail theft in the state of Florida. It's prolific. We have to take it serious here in Martin County. And these were burglaries and thefts, but if we don't take care of this, then the violent crimes kick into gear. And we want these criminals to know over in Tampa, up in Mississippi, in Valdosta, Georgia, that they come here to Martin County. We will go wherever we can to arrest you and bring you back here and prosecute you.
Sheriff, for these life felonies, what kind of sentences?
Let me let you answer
Yes. The burglary with damage over 1,000 is a punishable by life felony. Yes.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all. Feel free to take photos. You can handle those shoes. They're not evidence. So thank you all for your time.